everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name's Meredith E Phillips and today we are in a race against time. So a little housekeeping to start and then I'll get into the main bit of this video, but it is Saturday the 28th at the moment that I'm filming this, and I woke up this morning with this pinchy feeling in the back of my neck, and I'm pretty sure it's developing into a muscle spasm. Hey! So right now I'm doing okay. I'm in some discomfort and it's just sort of annoying. It hasn't gotten like full-blown a mess yet. But if I'm like a little bit stiff, it's because I'm trying not to like move too much and tweak it even further. So we'll see. The last time this happened, it started out in the beginning of the day, like just like it is now, where it's just sort of annoying and a little uncomfortable, and it got progressively worse as the day goes on. So that means if it continues to get worse through the rest of this day, I might end up taking a muscle relaxer before bed, and if I do that, I'm gonna be a loopy mess probably tomorrow. Now you're probably like, why is she telling me all this? I literally do not care. But if I'm a mess tomorrow because I had to take a muscle relaxer, it means I'm not gonna vlog, which means there's not gonna be a vlog on Friday. So that's the update. I'll put more information in a pinned comment below the video just to give you a little update on how things went over the weekend. But yeah, I'm a little annoyed. It was supposed to be like 3-day weekend, woo! And my neck was like, not today, nope. So we'll see. It's not great at the moment, but we'll see how we go. So the main thing that I wanted to talk about in this video was book signings and the signing that I got to go to this past Monday. I've been to a handful of book signings before, and they're always a lot of fun and really, really exciting for a writer to get to go to them. So I'm going to share a little bit about book signings in general, if you've never been to one, what to expect, what the sort of etiquette and protocol is when you go, and that sort of thing, and then as well as sharing my most recent experience going to the signing this past Monday. So a little while back, Christina Lauren had announced their newest release, Something Wilder, and they had put together a book tour, or their publisher had put together a book tour, and it happened that Houston was on the list. I was really excited because a lot of times authors will end up going to Dallas instead, but they were coming to Houston, so I was really excited about that, and I was able to buy my book, my little ticket to get in, and I got to see them, I got to meet them. Book signings are a lot of fun, and if you're a writer, which you probably are if you're watching this, I would highly recommend going to book signings. It's of course super exciting when you can go to a book signing for your favorite author or, you know, one of your top favorites, but I would encourage you to go to book signings even for authors that you're maybe sort of like, yeah, they're okay, like, they're good, I like their books. Even if you're not super like mega fan for that author, go to their signing if somebody's coming to your town. And there's a couple reasons that I suggest doing this. Number one, especially if it's one of your favorites, it's super exciting to get to meet them in person. And number two, it is a book signing, of course, so you can get your book signed by your author and get them to make it out to you or whatever, which is always really fun to have in your book collection. But the biggest reason I think it's important for authors to go to book signings is because it's super inspirational. Most of us, if you're a writer, are wanting at some point to publish your work, either self-publish or traditionally published, and the authors who are going on these book signing tours are the ones that have done the thing. They've done it. They wrote the books, they got the agent, they did the publishing deals, they did all the stuff, and now they have a book out in the world. And it's just inspirational to see somebody who's done it, and they get to talk about the experience in various capacities. A lot of times there's opportunities for people in the audience to ask questions, so if you are braver than me, you can put your hand up and ask a question. But yeah, they're just really fun, and especially going to this one was really exciting for me. The previous couple book signings I've gone to, I've seen Victoria Schwab, which was really fun. I love Victoria Schwab. I also got to go to a signing with Leigh Bardugo, which was also really cool. But this was the first signing I've been to with a romance author. And of course, you know, romance can oftentimes be poo-pooed in the industry. It's just fluff. It's just, it's not worth that much, which is a bunch of crap. But it was really cool to be in a room with probably 200 other people. I'm not sure how many people were there. It was at least 150. maybe 200. I'm really bad at estimating like crowd sizes, but it was a significant number of people. And it's really cool being in a crowd of people like that all love romance books. They love Christina Lauren's rom-coms. It was just exciting to see that many people turn out for an author writing romance, or really, in their case, two. It's two ladies, in case you were unaware. It's Christina and Lauren. And they write under the pen name Christina Lauren. Anyway, it felt good to be surrounded by other people who like the same thing that I like. And I like a lot of kind of weird niche things sometimes, and it's hard to find other people who like the same thing. And so when you find yourself finally in a situation where you're surrounded by a lot of other people who like this same thing, it's just really fun. You feel like validated. Not that romance novels are like super niche. There's obviously thousands and thousands of them and tens and thousands and millions of readers who read them. But some of my other, like Lawrence of Arabia, how many people am I going to meet who know what that is? Not many, okay? I'm in a Facebook group with a bunch of like old white British dudes because they're the only people who care. But anyway, I would highly encourage you, if you're a writer, to look up your favorite authors or other authors that you're just generally interested in and admire. Look up what they have going on. Look on their websites, see if they have events coming up. Sometimes authors will be appearing at like conferences or conventions and that kind of thing. And if there's any in your hometown, that's obviously ideal because then you can just drive and then go home, like I was able to do. But just keep tabs on them. It's one reason that I think having things like Twitter or Instagram, I don't know, they probably announce stuff on TikTok as well, but definitely Twitter and Instagram are places where they're going to be promoting their events. They want people to come to them. So if you follow your favorite authors or other people like that on social media, you will be the first ones usually to be updated on here's the tour schedule, here's where to buy tickets, or, you know, sign up to come, or whatever it is that they're going to be doing. Hey, Editing Meredith here. I wanted to add real quick. It is true that a lot of signings are going to take place in bigger cities. Houston, Dallas, Washington, D.C., New York, San Francisco, like they're gonna a lot of times be there, but don't lose hope. They do sometimes come to smaller places, so do still check it out. For example, I know that Maggie Stiefvater actually lives in the Appalachian Mountain Range in Western Virginia, not West Virginia, but Western Virginia. She has done signings at really local little bookshops in the Shenandoah Valley and that kind of area that is not any kind of major city, but it's like where she lives, and so it's really easy for her to go to them because she's like 20 minutes away or an hour away. So if you live somewhere that's a little more remote and not a big city, or a big city is kind of far from you, still check out where your favorite authors are going to be, because there is a chance that they could be somewhere close to you. If you're anything like me, you're going to be a little nervous going to an event like that, because a lot of times you're just going on your own, unless you have other friends in the area who are interested in the same kind of thing. The first two I went to with my husband, and then this one I just went to by myself. But it can be a little nerve-wracking going to an event like this on your own, or at least it is for me. So I wanted to also share just a little bit about book signings in general, what the general flow of events is, what you can expect, some of the differences between different kinds of events. So let me share a little bit about that. Book signings can be held at big box stores like Barnes & Noble, or really big stores like the Strand in New York City, places like that. But a lot of times they're also held in just small local bookstores. So for example, the one that I went to this past Monday was hosted by Blue Willow Books. I'll put a link to their website below in case you're in the Houston area, you want to check them out. They're in the west portion of the city. I'd never been over there before because I'm kind of far from that, but they're just a local small bookshop. And sometimes if the event is relatively small and they don't have a ton of people who are going to come to it, it will be held in the bookstore. And so they'll have like chairs set up, or sometimes it's just standing room. If it's a bigger author, like for Christina Lauren here, they ended up using a different space away from the bookstore that had a lot more room. It was like a community center kind of place. And so there was plenty of room for everybody to be able to spread out and, you know, enjoy the signing and not be like squished into some tiny bookshop, all of us together. To go to a book signing, it's going to depend a little bit on who the author is. If you're going to somebody, again, like Christina Lauren, or somebody who's not like incredibly famous, we're talking like not Stephen King here, okay? If they're just a well-known author, most of the time, the only thing you have to do is either just sign up for the event. Sometimes the events are totally free. You don't technically have to buy the book, although etiquette dictates you probably should. Every now and then you'll see events that are actually ticketed and you have to purchase a ticket to get in. And now sometimes the purchase price of the ticket will include a copy of the book or something like that. But again, if you're going to see like a big name author, like Neil Gaiman was actually here in town also, and tickets to his event were a lot. Like you had to purchase a ticket like you were going to see a show kind of deal. And he's Neil Gaiman, you know, like there's going to be a crap ton of people who want to go see him. And so I think partly tickets are just to pay him for his time, but also they need to be able to have some way to limit who can get in so that it's not just a free-for-all with like 10,000 people trying to get in. So for the event I went to with Christina Lauren, it wasn't something that I had to purchase a separate ticket for necessarily. They did require that you buy the book from them, which is totally reasonable. We want to support our local bookshops, right? Of course, purchasing the book helps the author and all that. And obviously, if I am going to their signing, I'm probably interested in the book they have coming out. So I was happy to get a hardcover copy of this book. There are some events, like when I went to see Victoria Schwab, this was like 2015, 2016, where she was in the middle of releasing the Shades of Magic series. So she was getting popular, but she wasn't quite at the level she's at now. So when we went to that event, you didn't have to buy a book. You could just go. And that would honestly be kind of rude. The bookstore is hosting this. The book sale obviously helps the bookstore to actually make money on the event rather than lose money. So buying a book or multiple books from the bookstore hosting is sort of the proper thing to do, even if it's not technically required. When you get to the signing, there's a couple different ways things can go, but generally you're gonna file in. If you have a book that you've purchased from them, you can pick it up like at a counter or something like that. Usually what they have is some sort of MC or a host who will get up on the stage or get in front of the crowd, depending on how they have it set up, and ask the author questions and sort of engage in a little bit of an interview conversation style thing. And then sometimes at the end, if there's time, they will open it up to audience questions. And you can ask them, you know, kind of whatever you want. Obviously be respectful and not ask some crazy question, but they're often willing to talk, of course, about the book that they're releasing and their backlist. And if you're a writer and you have writing related questions, they're oftentimes really excited to talk about that sort of thing. So like I said, it's a great time to actually get your question answered and just be inspired and excited and motivated by what they're saying about writing and the whole process. One thing I will say if you're going to a book signing is please, 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 please read the information that you are sent regarding the signing. Every signing, every different venue is going to have slightly different rules or slightly different ways of conducting themselves and ways of hosting the event, and you need to be informed. When I signed up to go for the event and purchased the book, there was a big section that was like, here are the rules, here's how we're gonna do things. I also got an email later on, again, reiterating the rules and laying things out so that everyone was clear. And there were people at this event who clearly had not read any of it or just chose to ignore it because they were doing things that they were not supposed to be doing. And to me, that's just very rude. One of the things at this particular event that I was honestly a little surprised about, but afterwards it did make sense. They said in the emails and on their website and everywhere that they had information about the signing, it said masks were required, which here in Texas where we believe in freedom. That hasn't been a thing for like a long time. So I was surprised to see that. And to me, I was like, fine, if that's what I got to do, like, I do not care. That didn't bother me at all. It is totally well within their rights to ask people to wear a mask. If that's what their policy is, fine. I had no problem doing that. I showed up to the event. Most people had masks on. There were some people sitting in the audience who did not. And to me, that is just the height of rudeness. They had masks at the door if you forgot yours. The reason, though, that they were requiring it was because the bookstore actually had just had some of their employees test positive, and they were trying to be really careful to protect not only the authors who were traveling on a book tour, but also to protect the other employees of their shop to make sure that nobody else got COVID. So if you're going to a signing, please read those rules. Please read what they're expecting in their policy. You don't want to show up and either not be prepared, not have something you're supposed to have, or bring something you're not supposed to bring. Different authors have different policies also when it comes to signing the books. As was the case in this event, you of course got to pick up your book and it was signed and everything for you. But if you wanted to, you could bring other books from home that you had purchased previously to have them sign. So I was able to get another copy of a book signed. There were other people who had like the whole backlist and they were willing to sign all of it. Different authors, though, when it comes to signing like previously released books, have different policies. Some authors will not sign anything except for the current release. I remember a couple years back when Sarah J. Maas was doing a book tour, she was only signing the one book, and that was because she had signed so many books, her wrist was like injured. And her doctor was like, you gotta stop. So they had a very strict policy. She is only signing this one book to try to help her wrist heal. Other authors will only sign like a certain number of other copies of their books, or et cetera, et cetera. So again, just read the rules. Be courteous, be a good person, and try to follow whatever the policies of the event are. So after you've had your chance to listen to the authors talk and have their little interview time and ask questions with the audience and all that kind of thing, then you move into the actual signing portion of the event. Typically, they have some way of organizing the audience into groups. So like for this one, we were in different color groups. The red group got to go first. The orange group got to go second. I was in the yellow group. I got to go third. And it's just a way of sort of dividing everybody up so that not like 200 people are all in line at the same time. Like that's kind of a waste. We could sit and wait while the other groups went and had their time in the signing line. And then you get up to the counter when it's your turn, or the desk, or wherever they're sitting, and you get to meet them and have them sign your book. Policy again here does differ in terms of picture taking. I've been to events like the one with Victoria Schwab. I actually got to go like sort of behind the desk and stand right next to her and have my picture taken with her and have a whole thing. Christina Lauren did not have that option. You were able to just sort of stand on the one side of the desk while they signed and chat a little bit while they were doing the signing and everything. This was again trying to help protect them from getting ill in any way. And then after I was finished in the signing line, you went right out the door and you could go home. All in all, it was a very well organized, well put together event, which I appreciated. The one I went to with Leigh Bardugo, unfortunately, was not all that great. Not because of anything Leigh Bardugo was doing. One of the problems for us in particular is it was at like 7 o'clock in downtown DC, and so of course there was like a ton of traffic trying to get down there. We had to park like 17 blocks away and walk over to the bookstore. So we got there like right as it was starting. And one thing I would suggest doing if you're going, especially if the author's anyone who has any kind of popularity, I would highly recommend arriving well before the start of the event. That will ensure that you get a good seat where you can actually see and hear them. And for me, getting there early just alleviates like the anxiety of like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be late. I hate that. So I like getting there early. The other thing that was a little bit of an issue with the Bardugo signing was the bookstore had like a little amp and a mic, and it was a very not powerful amp. And so because we had gotten there late, we were like way in the back of this big crowd, and I couldn't hear pretty much anything that she was saying. So the entire portion of the event where she was like talking about her books and talking about her writing and answering audience questions, like I couldn't hear any of it hardly, which was a little disappointing. Again, you know, it was really just the equipment that they had available. It wasn't powerful enough for this event. So if you want to avoid being all the way at the back of the crowd and potentially unable to hear really what's going on, arrive early. I got to the Christina Lauren event right at 6:30, which is when the doors were open, and there were already quite a few people there. So I got there at a pretty good time. The signing started at 7. And I was happy with the spot I got in the audience, and it was good. So a fun time had by me, at least. I think everybody else had fun too. Let me know in the comments, have you ever gone to a book signing? Who was it for? Do you like going to signings? You know, are there any authors that you would love to see and you just haven't had a chance to yet? Let me know in the comments below. If you've been to signings, or maybe even if you've helped organize signings and there's other kind of tips and tidbits you would want people to know, definitely leave that below as well. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, make sure you click the subscribe button. I post videos on Tuesdays and Fridays, except maybe this Friday, we'll see. I'll leave a note in the comments. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
We were miserable during the pandemic, and now I think a lot of people kind of discovered love stories in the past few years.
I mean, they're about hope and joy, and I think, you know, during the pandemic, we all wanted that escape. A lot of us turned to, a lot of people turned to K-dramas. A lot of people just turned to television, and like To All the Boys I Loved Before, and we were all like just hungry for rom-coms on Netflix and Hulu and all of those. It's like, I feel like we were scraping the bowl trying to find anything that we could. And it's because we wanted that shot of joy and hope. So I think, you know, that's what romance delivers.